Welcome to the Let's Talk series. The Let's Talk series is a 30-minute video discussion between myself, Dr. Amanda, Dr. Becca, and a local practitioner who understands pelvic health on topics pertaining to women's health and wellness. This series was created to help women navigate their pelvic health wherever they are on the path of womanhood, to advocate, navigate, and collaborate together with a holistic team of allies. Pelvic health healing is multidimensional, and the best outcomes occur with a teams-based approach. We invite you to tune into our monthly series to learn more about your pelvic health and engage with our community partners. So today, welcome to speaker Nadine Miles. Today, we will be discussing just the topic of kind of like the postpartum woman. So Nadine is a physician assistant and certified functional medicine practitioner. Nadine spent nearly a decade practicing emergency medicine and then transitioned into functional medicine for several years before founding her health consulting company, Minded Integrative Health. She works one-on-one with clients and also provides workshops and seminars to help people identify root cause of illness and better understand their relationship with their bodies, minds, and spirits. So welcome, Nadine. We're super excited to speak with you today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Absolutely.
Yes. And when I first kind of spoke with Nadine, we were kind of like super excited about this topic in particular, just kind of discussing the various aspects of, the postpartum woman, who she is, what she's feeling, how to support, and all of that. There's such a transitional kind of period of life where a lot of times you can feel lost kind of going through that. So we're excited to kind of have you here and provide your perspective on the postpartum woman, because we overlap a lot with those types of clients.
We do. And we need each other. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's definitely true. There is a lot to learn about becoming the mother, right? And I think a lot of women are so busy kind of doing that they, of course, forget about what they need to be doing to take care of themselves, and then kind of spiral into this postpartum human. And they just become reacquainted with themselves as this new person. And it's really an honor and a privilege to be someone like yourselves, to guide this person, into the recognition that there's more, and there's a way to maintain balance and things like that. So it's a real privilege to walk alongside women who are on that journey.
Exactly.
So I'm happy to be here with you too.
Yeah. Thank you.
So give us a little bit of just insight into your practice. What is functional medicine, its role in the healing process and the postpartum journey?
Yeah, so functional medicine and what I do basically is practice basically a systems-based approach toward helping someone to either identify what it is that has gone wrong and create balance there, or just to allow a person to maintain their vitality or optimize their vitality, so to speak. So functional medicine serves as a systems-based approach. So we don't just take, this one item that isn't functioning well or just this, we don't hone in, we kind of widen the lens a little bit and look at the whole picture. So that has a tendency to allow people a little bit better view of really where they need to focus their attention, where things have gone wrong. So for an example, if someone has, something going on with their gut, that's probably not a great example because everything really starts with the gut. But, if somebody's feeling fatigue, for an example, we may look at what are you eating? How are you sleeping? How is your hormonal function? We don't just say like, oh, okay, fatigue must be related to, I don't know, your depression or your job or whatever. We kind of look at the whole picture. And in that way, it gives, both the client and the practitioner an idea of where the focus needs to be.
which I think is one of the biggest things for our practices. Like, how do we help people navigate who they need to see, where they need to go?
Yes.
Because our traditional medicine system, or like the US medical system,
Yeah, like a
is
Western.
very segmented. Yes, our
Correct.
Western medicine is very segmented. So when someone comes to us and says, I'm having raging diarrhea and I had a sphincter tear and I can't hold back any gas, or my bowels postpartum because I had a grade 3 or grade 4 tear,
Right.
you know, our thought is, okay, we need you to go see the colorectal specialist, so on and so forth. But there usually is a huge underlying gut issue, or it's
Right.
mamas who are living on coffee and goldfish, and like
Yes.
that's not helping anything.
Right.
So like definitely having a functional medicine practitioner does, like you said, widen the lens and then
Yep.
bring it back together, so you don't feel like you're just seeing 15 minutes of this person's time, 10 minutes of this person's time, and then you're not really getting a full puzzle put together.
That's
It's more
right.
of just pieces that are then laying on a table.
It's true. And the beautiful thing about functional medicine is what it promotes within the functionality of your life, so to speak, is it allows you to become better acquainted with yourself.
True.
So, you know, somebody who has had, for an example, gut issues, who just was always constipated and gassy their whole life, but never really understood why or how, or just kind of came to accept this part of themselves as normal. As a functional medicine practitioner, you say, hey, you know, let's look at your diet. Let's look at actually what you're eating day to day. Just as you said, Amanda, like, especially when you're a new mom, you know, you might just be living on goldfish and coffee, but you're not recognizing that you're doing that because you're so busy doing all of the other things. You know, maybe you say to your client, hey, let's cut this one product out, for example, gluten. And then all of a sudden now your bowels are moving and your gas is alleviated. And that allows for awareness, right? So the next time you're feeling poorly, now you have a tool in your toolbox to say to yourself, I wonder if it's because I went to that restaurant, there might have been something in that meal that I wasn't aware of, you know? Whereas before you would just kind of accept it as whatever and move on without that awareness. So the beauty is that it brings you back to the understanding that your body is trying to communicate with you. So that level of awareness, I think, it is a huge part of the collaborative whole health picture.
Well, and you as like a functional medicine provider who's looking at the whole picture, and with us, when we're talking to clients, again, asking about their bowel habits, their all of that stuff, a lot of times we are able to help people connect those dots where we're asking questions, which then lead to more questions and more questions. And it's like, okay, I came in because I'm having this like urinary urgency frequency, but now here we are talking about, you know, something
your
that
childhood
seems like
traumas.
it's totally like off track. But when you look into it, you're able to kind of see how each piece of the puzzle can kind of all come together. So that's always fun.
It really is.
Of like the kind of really like diving deep, and I always like tell people like, okay, we're going to talk about a lot here. So
get ready.
The first visit is really a lot of talking, but you can't just get started of like just diving into, you know, just one thing. It's
the one thing,
you know, it's really so important to get that kind of like whole picture, because a lot of times maybe we're not focusing on, okay, what do your pelvic floor muscles look like? It's so many other aspects of people's life and lifestyle again. And that's where knowing the people to send to, maybe it is, we want to pull in a nutritionist or functional medicine or, you know, endocrinology, so we can get a look at all of that stuff too. So it's fun.
It's definitely fun.
And it's always like the little unexpected, like little nuggets that get thrown out there where you're like, wait, actually, I think we need to go down this path. So
yeah, it is that is actually the psychology of it is fun, because oftentimes clients will use certain words, certain terminology just totally, if you're kind of trained to pick up on it, you can really help direct them in a way that is meaningful and useful for their health, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's
so many people will I think to themselves, like you said, they're like, but I've always been that way. But that's
Right.
like, I've always
That's
just
just
been
the way it
someone
is.
who
Justifying.
does this. And you're like, but wait a second, like, let's talk about that
Do you
more.
want to do that? Do you want to be that?
Yeah.
Right.
It's true. And I have a lot of, older clients that just say to me, well, that's just, I'm just getting older. I'm just, my bones and my joints and my lack of sleep and my weight gain. It's just because I'm older. And I kind of like give them one of these like, well, is it? I mean, we really should be aging a little bit more gracefully
Right.
than I think we're giving ourselves credit for.
Right.
Mhm.
I always try to remind people that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you are with a client and you're, having that kind of like first intake or first session and you're talking with them, what types of like questions are you asking?
Oh my gosh.
What specifically are you using to help kind of really identify what the root cause is?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So within the functional medicine world, there are lots of assessments that can be used. So we have access to, stool testing. That is not necessarily the stool testing that you would get at a physician's office, right? Stool testing is looking for, are there bacteria overgrowth in your body? What's the pH? Are you digesting your fibers well? Is there too much protein in your stool, meaning you're not digesting muscle tissue well, so you're not able to process? But we also look at, we can look at cortisol levels. We can look at hormone levels. One of my favorite tests for women in particular, not just women, men too, but mainly women, is like a dried urine test, which is going to show you not just what your hormone levels are, but how they are metabolizing. And are those metabolites healthy or inflammatory? And I really like that test because you can really change, you can really shift the paradigm, or the path that a woman is on. Because sometimes when you're metabolizing your hormones, meaning you're breaking the hormone down for removal from the system, you can be doing that into an inflammatory component, which is more likely to cause some type of a cancer down the road. So when you look at testing like that early on and you make the changes that are necessary to kind of shunt away from that, or clean up the diet or clean up the lifestyle, lower the stress level, improve the sleep, whatever it is, you really could be shifting that woman's lifeline, But I'll be honest with you, the most important, assessment that I do on my clients in particular is I do a very in-depth questionnaire. And, I can't, whenever I'm like, doing a discovery call with a new client, I always tell them like, I'm going to send you a questionnaire. I really want you to spend some time with it. You need to like dedicate a good 45 minutes because it's not like, even the doctor's questionnaire is pretty in depth, right? But mine is, were you breastfed? Did you have it? What was dinner like at your house? What kind of family did you have growing up? Were you a kid that ate a lot of candy when you were a kid? We really we dive into the past in a way that allows me to create kind of a map for them, a map of their health. And oftentimes, I'll like create a little timeline for them and I'll show them, look, when this car accident happened, like a year later, when this person got divorced, or this person, when whatever happened, this is really when you're suggesting that your symptoms started. And they really, are able to, again, have an understanding of, oh, okay, these things are related. And that's my biggest tool, to be very honest with you, it's the person, it's the questionnaire, it's getting to know that person's story and relaying it back to them in a way that is almost like it's a third party perspective, that allows them to then really look at the health of their life and say, oh my gosh, this is how everything fits together.
And to recognize how intelligent our body really is.
It's true.
And that mind and spirit component of how truly they all work together, which is again, one of those things we don't get in other settings or in other kind of points of view. And we don't take the time to be able to process those things, whatever grief it is in that car accident or that
Right.
Passing of someone. Like I've had several people who've come in and say like, you know, when my parent passed away, I felt like everything shifted and dropped into my pelvic floor. And it's like, whoa, like we
That's
can
a
do
big
magical things with our wands and our estrogen and all this other stuff, but there's another component. So
you have to be willing to address it, right? You have to be willing to go there.
And a lot of the time, this is when those transitions during the postpartum period happen, those big, whoa, what the heck happened? Whether it's they went through, you know, a traumatic birth or a birth they didn't expect to happen, or they had a fertility journey leading up to a fantastic birth. Like you don't just all of a sudden shift your mindset just because one thing happens. You know what I mean?
For sure.
It's a lot. So
it is a lot. It is a lot. And then you add on top of it as the postpartum woman that you're trying to keep someone else alive, you know, that you're not sleeping. You might have to be the stress of going back to work immediately. And so it's easy to kind of shift into survival mode and just go and drink coffee and eat goldfish to stay alive.
I use that because so many people have come in and they're like, so I ate the scraps of the chicken nuggets and goldfish and I had my fourth cup of coffee lunch. That was cold today.
But that's what it is, right?
It's true. You know, I mean, it happens to every one of us. It doesn't mean you're a bad mom, a bad woman, a bad lady, anything like that.
No, it doesn't mean it doesn't mean any of that. It just means you don't have time.
Right.
You don't have time.
Exactly.
Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack. And, you know, one of the things that I like for what I do for a living is I don't feel that our culture creates or provides, some cultures really have built into them the postpartum space, you know, and our culture really does not have that. It's almost the opposite. Like, oh, you had a baby. When are you going back to work?
Here's your 6 weeks. Bye.
Here's your 6 weeks. And the baby's like, you know, hasn't even begun to become aware of its space or who it belongs to by 6 weeks, you know. So you know, it is nice to create that space or allow for those connections to be made for those women as they come into motherhood, as they come into, you know, this new, really, you know, it's a new being, right? You're giving birth to a child, but you're also giving birth to the mother, right? When you're a mother for the first time, people really overlook that you're being given birth to as a mother. And that has some learning to be done with it. And not everybody has someone in front of them or a group of women around them that can be supportive of that or really understand what that means.
Right. Very true.
So it's a lot.
Yeah. Well, and I think trying to honor yourself as this new mother and who you are now, but then also still carry who you were
then
before with you. I feel like a lot of times the postpartum client might be coming in and just I just want things to be, I want to be back. I want to feel how I did before. I want my pre-pregnancy body back or this. And you know, sometimes you have to look at me like we're not going there. You're never going to get that back because you're just not that person anymore.
You're not that person anymore. Yeah.
So, and so much of it is, you know, again, like during pregnancy, it's this beautiful time. Everyone's, you know, like, oh, how beautiful. And then all of a sudden baby's here and it's like, oh, we don't care about you anymore. Like, give me the baby.
It's the baby. Yeah. And it's interesting because it's really the brand new baby is almost easier than like that 9-month-old baby or that, you know, year-old baby where everyone's like kind of done paying attention to this brand new baby. And you're still up twice a night thinking like, oh my God, this is still happening. And that's really when all of those adrenal fatigue, adrenal dysfunction starts setting in because anybody can do baby stuff for 6 weeks, right? Your body is really underneath you to support that. But then after it's been like a year, it's been 2 years, it's been 3 years, you get pregnant again, you have another, I mean, you really start to break down and your body's kind of like, excuse me, when are you going to get that hibernative nap?
Right.
Never.
So from your perspective, Nadine, like what is stuff that women can do in those timeframes? Because we have multiple clients who have had their babies are maybe 1.5. They had a long breastfeeding journey and they're like, okay, time to get pregnant again. And then they're kind of shocked that like at maybe 12 or 16 weeks, the leakage comes back, the SPD, like the
they're
pubic
experiencing
symphysis
things
stuff.
much earlier
Right.
in this
Everything is,
pregnancy.
Which is natural, but at the same time, it's kind of, you kind of scratch your head and go, there's something else missing here. You could do as many bridges as you want, clams, quadruped, all that, but there might be something missing. So from your perspective, what do you think?
Yeah. So when you're in it, it's a little bit difficult, right? To say, hey, you know, you've got you're 3 months pregnant now, and what can I do? Of course, there's always something to do, but it's easier when you've started that journey, kind of when you've done it right from the beginning. Of course, I mean,
Like, anything.
but taking the time to recognize that, again, everything is awareness. So taking the time to recognize that the woman that I am right now, I'm never going to be that 25-year-old woman that I used to be. I'm never going to have that body. I'm never going to have that bladder. I'm never going to have those things, because there have been events that have taken place that have altered that, right? Like when you're 25 and you've never been pregnant before, your uterus looks and feels different, right, than it does after a baby's kind of grown and come through. But you know, learning how to support your body is the key. And so, you know, learning how to sleep well. I know that sounds silly, but in our culture, we really do blow off sleep. You know, well, I have a lot of clients that will say to me, oh, I don't have time to sleep. I'll sleep when I'm dead. And it's a joke. But learning how to sleep well, learning how to sleep deeply is a skill that we have to practice, and we have to set up the environment for that. Learning how to exercise, you know, making time for movement, learning how to eat well, how to prepare meals in a busy lifestyle. And it's not just while I'm pregnant, it's not just while I'm nursing, it's a lifestyle. Learning how to address stress as it comes in, because again, we're not going to suddenly find ourselves in a life where we're stress-free. We have to learn how to handle these stressors that come into our space. And that means the physical, emotional, psychological stressors, in addition to the environmental stressors, the toxins, the things that we don't have control over, right? We have to learn how to address those. And then also learning how to maintain relationships and maybe avoid relationships that are not necessarily beneficial. So the idea is always understanding what your body needs to support itself is the best way to create a situation where you're going to be the most successful, you know?
Yeah. And I think we were talking a little bit before we kind of hopped on of how it, you know, it does require an investment and a want to change. And I think sometimes people can get overwhelmed, right? Where it's like, oh, I have all these, you know, I have this new baby. And then now, like, if I, you know, they're scared to go see someone because it means that they're going to have to change or actually like commit to something. But I think that's the beauty of what we all do is, you know, kind of understanding who is that person and how can we take some of these adjustments or changes and fit it into a way that is digestible for them and is going to actually work for their lifestyle. You know, so many times, you know, people come in with every intention of, I'm going to do my home exercises. And then they come in and they're like, you know what, the only time I was really able to do it was after I put my toddler to sleep and I have to like crawl out of the room to not wake them up. Like, is there anything I can do? And I'm like, perfect. Yes. Like,
You're crawling.
you know, you're crawling. That's
You're
we'll work
crawling.
stuff into the crawling. Or it's how can we work some of this stuff into, you know, some of the things that you're already doing or making those. Sometimes it's like, you don't have to totally flip your whole life around, but it's, you know, one kind of little piece at a time.
That's right.
Little adjustments. That was something that I really struggled with when I started working with the women's health coach was there was so many like things out there. I was like, I don't even know where to start. This feels really overwhelming. I don't think I can do it. And I don't have a child or anything like that. So, but then it was nice working with this person who was like, okay, well, let's, you know, what does feel like something that is good to you can do, that you feel like will be kind of working towards that goal or progress in that way. So I think sometimes we might be even just holding ourselves back because of the fear of, that having that awareness and knowing, like, the first thing is having that awareness. And then the second thing is kind of making that commitment to actually do something with it. So
it's interesting because that's also relationship, right? So when you're working with someone, you have to kind of work with what you got. So you have to recognize where you can push and where you can't push, and what needs pushing but is not quite ready to be pushed, and figure out where can you actually start. So somebody might be willing to start with exercise and sleep, but they're not interested in supplements or nutrition or anything like that. And then after a period of time, as the benefits of whatever they are doing come in, you can kind of say, hey, this is the next step, or this is what I think is the next step. What do you think? Or what's making you hesitate? Is it, like I have a flight attendant, and it's very difficult to eat healthy when you're flying. So that's it's just a big obstacle to cure that we are constantly trying to come up with creative solutions for, so
and it takes like those solutions and having that open communication with your provider, and even the open communication with yourself to go, is this really working? Am I really doing this for myself, or am I doing it so such and such sees that I'm trying to do something? All of that too. But also, those, once we start to see those little wins, if you will, or those little positives, then they do, feedback loop, go back into the, oh, wow, I am valuable. I am worthy. I can advocate for myself. And I think that's the, peanut butter and jelly of what we get to do.
That's
is to really sit with people and do that. And to have someone like you to come on board and say, when they're ready, we get people who ask all the time, oh, I want to do all these ab exercises for this belly pooch. And I'm like, girl, that belly pooch is not because your core is not active or strong. That belly pooch is because you just drank a bottle of wine and had Chinese food, but you told me that that's what you were going to do because you were so stressed for the next 3 weeks of like Christmas. And I'm like, if our gal listens, she'll know exactly who she is.
There's another way.
But she's like, I'm just not ready yet. And I'm like, well, what are you ready for?
Yeah.
And it's like, but then when people come back in and they're like, okay, I'm really ready to like not drink my bottle of wine, not do this. What can I do for myself? What supplements are there that might be, not something that they're taking gluten completely out, but they could take maybe, like something simple as the digestive enzymes that you have shared with multiple clients, even myself, of like, oh, that makes a difference.
Makes a big difference.
Simple.
It makes it more palpable, right? It makes it more digestible. Pun intended. Yeah, it's definitely true. And again, we talk about awareness a lot, but there really has to be the desire, firstly from the client, that there has to be desire for more. There has to be desire for more. I think so many people just kind of will just say, well, this is just how it is. And this is what it is, And so that is something that I have not been able to successfully install into anybody, that they have to want it for themselves. And then I just kind of help to kind of push the brush back and say, why don't you go this way and see what you find, because really it's your journey. It's not my journey.
Ours, right.
And you have to ultimately decide what is the quality of the life that you want to experience while you're here. We're here for a finite period of time. And I happen to be a person who wants to maximize the experience while I'm here, but not everybody feels that way, So that's the key. That's the key to it, I think. But I do agree that there's definitely a shift in the perspective that takes place, where there used to be some part of, the mental functioning that used to say, oh my gosh, I have this busy week that I just got through, I'm going to go have like a bottle of wine and Chinese food. And then it shifts into, oh my gosh, I just had this busy week. I recognize that my body is really worked hard for me and is depleted. And I'm going to feed her by canceling my plans this weekend and, drinking, filtered water and like soaking in a tub, and the benefits are for me, right? Whereas our culture has kind of created this external, you're almost depleting yourself further by utilizing the resources for stress relief that our culture provides. And then you wake up on Sunday and you're like, I have a headache now. I have more inflammation in the body and my already depleted body has more to do. Instead of getting to Sunday and being like, all right, I'm ready,
Right. Yeah, understanding kind of your body and what needs it's communicating to you and understanding how to nourish it in that way. So
it's true.
How can someone kind of, really take that and assess their,
need for it?
Yeah.
I was going to say your body is, so the body is the sensory organ that we are experiencing our life through, right? We have a spirit inside of us and it's housed in this body. And so the body almost precedes us. And the us that I'm referring to is our spiritual being. And that is something that is ageless. It's timeless. Like if you think about some of the thoughts that you had as like an 8-year-old, it's the same voice that you have now. It hasn't aged at all. It hasn't changed at all. Maybe it has more wisdom or whatever, but the body is the thing that ages. And the body is the thing that kind of interacts with this world that we're in, and learning how to pick up the cues from that body is the whole game, right? And so again, it's just recognizing that I'm feeling tension, I'm feeling nervous, I'm feeling, what's another good one? I'm feeling afraid. So recognizing what the body is communicating with you is a really great first step toward healing, right? So, but the question of how do you assess whether or not, functional medicine is something that is good for you, or how do you know whether or not you need a functional medicine practitioner? I mean, from my perspective, I feel that everybody could use a functional medicine practitioner because
everyone.
That's the same answer we give everybody.
Yeah, because
could
it's
use at least an intelligent discussion about it.
Yeah, because I just feel that everybody can use a little bit more functionality in their lives. It's like, could everybody use like some organizational closet in their house? Probably. But, learning how to filter through some of the excess that we have access to is a skill set, right? Learning how to live minimally, learning how to say no to that second thing or that second, whatever it is, whether it's something you're eating or something you're wearing or something you're, like some toy that you're buying for yourself. Learning how to live in a minimalistic way is a skill. It's a functionality. So, working with someone who can help to provide a level of balance in your life, I think everybody would benefit for. But oftentimes, it's a good idea to probe into the functional world if you're someone who is experiencing symptoms that you're not able to resolve through the Western medicine, right? I have almost all of my clients come to me and they say, these are my symptoms, 1, 2, 3, 4, 17. I've been to this doctor, I've been to this doctor, I've been to this doctor. All my labs are normal. All my tests are negative. All of my this don't show anything, but I still have these symptoms. And so that is a person who I think would benefit from functional medicine, because Western medicine is really visual. we're really we're literally looking. So we're doing visual inspections, we're doing x-rays, we're doing laparoscopic procedures, we're doing CAT scans, we're doing endoscopies, looking at the inside of the intestine, looking at the inside of the bladder, looking in the ears, and then when we don't see anything, we say everything looks normal.
Right.
But looking normal and functioning are two different things. So functional medicine does exactly that. It looks at how are you functioning? How is your body communicating with the various complex organs in the body? You know, how is the cell functioning in its neighborly space? And how is that cell communicating with this system, with that system, with the other system? And how are you functioning? So that's traditionally the client that is looking for a functional medicine practitioner. The other kind of people that I tend to get are folks that are high-end professionals, very driven, older, getting on in life, who don't want to lose that. They want to maintain that caliber. So if you're someone who's totally healthy and you want to stay at the top of your game, and you're at that like kind of 40s, 50s age where you're just starting to feel this and that and the other thing, and you want to kind of, you don't want that to worsen, you want to kind of maintain where you're at, that's somebody who would really do well with a functional medicine practitioner.
Yeah, I like to call them the CEOs of their
Yes.
life.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. No, I mean, and I think, you know, when we start to step back and we do get frustrated with like maybe some Western medicine that's like, I'm 100% healthy in X, Y, and Z. And I've gone to Becca and Amanda, and my pelvic floor is
Beautiful,
strong and supple, and I can do all these things, but why am I still leaking as a postpartum mom? You know, there are other things that like maybe you're not processing your hormones effectively. And that's
right.
Something that like someone like you, Nadine, could step in and say, yeah, like you're not getting any of your DHEA to break down and make all the building blocks for estrogen and testosterone and progesterone. I think I'm right on that, but you can
You're doing it great.
This is my very limited knowledge.
It's very good.
Medicine.
It's very good.
But yeah, I mean, I think it's other things that we can really step back and look at. And then what's cool is when we've partnered together to work with clients, when somebody starts to come into that next, you know, part of their path where they're feeling so much better and all the things are working well, we get the privilege to then like bump up somebody's program, or like bump up and say, hey, like you're not complaining about leakage anymore, but now you're saying you have a dissatisfaction maybe in your like your sex life or something, or your bowels. And it's just really cool, because then we get to step forward again with somebody, you know, as we all trust each other, obviously stepping forward. So it's really neat to have the give and take of multiple providers surrounding somebody on their path to pelvic wellness.
It's true. And it really does take a village in that sense. And the beauty of it is, just as you say, Amanda, like, you know, when you don't feel good, you're focused on the thing that doesn't feel good. You're not even thinking about sex. You're not even thinking about the enjoyment of life, riding a bike, whatever it is. And then once you kind of get into that space of wellness, then you're able to open up that next realm. And what ends up coming in is health and vitality and optimized joy, so to speak. And you get to take more out of the experience of living. So that's the beauty of it, is that you're not just kind of unconsciously kind of scrapping through life. You're really taking, I think it's is it Henry David Thoreau, or was it Mark Twain who said, you're really sucking the marrow out of life. You're just getting all of the good bits of it. And, you know, that's what makes life worth living, right? Is being able to wake up every morning and feel satisfaction and gratitude for this gift that we've been given, which is to be allowed to experience life and to live. And you know, the more people experience that, the happier we can be. So in some ways, I don't know, are we healing the world? Can I say that?
Yeah. I feel like that's like every Let's Talk, we all come down to like this point of like, we're here for the whole thing. Like it's not just for the one. Yeah.
Well, what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong with that. I'm on board.
So if people are interested in working with you or speaking with you, what's the best way for people to kind of learn more, contact you?
Yeah, so the best way to get in touch with me is to just visit my website, which is www.soulmindedhealth.com. And on the website, you can schedule a free discovery call. I do 15-minute calls just to kind of make sure that we're the right fit for one another, that we're excited to work with one another. Or you can just schedule right online. And then I also do a lot of seminars and workshops for employees or professional growth. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can definitely just shoot me an email, which is on the website, but it's just info@soulmindedhealth.com.
Great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today, Nadine. It was
Well, thank you for having
wonderful.
me.
So lovely.
Yes.
It's always good to see you both.
Yes.
Always.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Pleasure, ladies.
Stop recording.